It's just so fun and super easy to create. You're gonna love this one. Well, hi everyone and welcome back to the Stitch Sessions. Today we have another cute and quick stitch tutorial for you. And it is the double crochet slip stitch. Now, a little while ago, you may recall that we did the half double crochet slip stitch. And it's a great way to use your basic stitches to just create a little bit of a different type of stitch definition. And I love how this almost creates like a little bit of a mini, tiny little bauble. And it also creates a bit of a ribbed look effect. So we did it with the half double crochet stitches. Today, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it with the double crochet stitch. Now, this may not actually be the official name of it. To be fair, I haven't actually seen anybody do this stitch. I'm sure it exists. I just don't know the actual name. So if you recognize this stitch and it is indeed called by another name, please do leave it for me in the comment box down below. It helps me out and it helps the rest of us out for future reference and research. So it's super cute and cushy and I just can't wait to show you guys. So let's get started. Okay, so for the little sample that I have going here, I used a medium 4-weight yarn. This is the Bernat Super Value yarn. I love a lot of these Bernat yarns. They're just so lovely and cushy to work with. And I used a 5.5 millimeter hook for this one. So for this tutorial today, this is a lightweight number 3. And I don't have the label anymore, but I think it's Premier's bamboo yarn. I think it's Premier. I'll find a graphic and put it up here on the screen for you in case you would like to use this yarn for a project. So the hook size I'm going to be using for this is a 5 millimeter hook, which is also known as an H or a size 8. And as always, for any project, make sure that you have a pair of scissors on hand and a yarn needle to weave in any ends at the end. We're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. Just like that. And so for this swatch, I'm just going to chain up 16. And you can chain up whatever number that you desire. There is no multiple count for this stitch. 13, 14, 15, and 16. So as you can see, the stitches are sitting nice and loose, which is what I was hoping for, so you guys can see everything nice and clearly. Okay, so for row 1, I am just going to create an establishing row. Some people would get into the stitch right away, but I just want to create a nice solid base row to get us started on the stitch. So this is not part of the stitch, just in case you're wondering. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the second chain from the hook. Remember, we never count the loop that's on the hook. So I would count 1 and 2, and I'm just going to single crochet. Now, in this particular instance, I'm going to turn over my chain, and I'm going to work into these back bumps here. See how they have these little bumps? So I'm just going to help it along, and I'm going to single crochet 1 into each stitch, or the back bump of each stitch, all the way to the end of my row. And then I would have used the same clip from the half double crochet slip stitch for the chain and the row 1. So we're going to just continue on with row number 2. Okay, so once row 1 is complete, you have your single crochet stitches that look like that. And I love how working into the back bumps creates this beautiful finished edge along the bottom. So let's now actually get into the official stitch. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And this chain 1 doesn't really count as anything. It just helps us to turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over just like you would begin a double crochet stitch. You're going to insert your hook and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook. Then what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, just like you would work a double crochet stitch. So we've got 2 loops on our hook right now. Now with a double crochet, you normally would yarn over and pull through the last 2. But what we're going to do here is actually we're going to go back into that same stitch. We're going to pull up that loop and slip it through the last 2 stitches. So that's where it's kind of similar to that half double crochet slip stitch. So let's do that again. We're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch and pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook. You will yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops only. So you have 2 loops remaining. Then from here, we will go back into that same stitch and pull up a loop. Notice I did not yarn over again. And that same loop gets slipped through the last 2 stitches. And again, yarn over and pull up a loop and then pull through the first 2 only. Then go back into that stitch and slip stitch through all of them. And this is what you're going to do all the way to the end of your row. This is the stitch that I am calling the double crochet slip stitch. So there's a few there for you. Okay, so it's not really showing much on this side, but when you turn it over, it just creates a little bit of a teeny tiny little bobble there. So what you're going to see is that with subsequent rows, you'll really see the effect come into play. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish this row here, and I'll meet up with you at the end to just show you how you would turn around and continue subsequent rows. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end of my row here. So that's where we had done that chain 1. Now I always recommend when you come to the end, just make sure you count your stitches backwards. So I know that I had 15 stitches for each row now. So I counted backwards from my hook and I know I have 14 stitches. So that means I have 1 more to go just in case. Sometimes this chain 1 gets lost here. And this is where a lot of newer crocheters will make a little boo-boo. Sometimes they skip that. Now this is quite obvious that there still needs to be 1 more stitch, but sometimes it's hard to see. So feel free to kind of turn it around, see where you can see. Now I can see that this chain 1 got flattened out here. And that's where we turned our work. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook into that. I always try and pick up both loops of that chain. And then I just finished my last stitch here and back into that same stitch. And row 1 is complete. So technically, this is the back side of that stitch. So it's fairly flat. Now what we're going to do, anytime you want to continue for subsequent rows, you will chain 1 again. We're going to turn our work, and now you can really see, now that I finished the row, you can really see how it creates this beautiful kind of textured stitch. Isn't that lovely? Especially with the lighter weight yarn, it's really, really pretty. Okay, so now we're going on to row number 2 and every other row after this. Find that very first stitch and we just continue as we did before. We pull up a loop, so there's 3, then pull through the first 2, and then we go back into that same stitch and slip stitch through the other 2. Now you might notice that I'm staying very nice and relaxed with how I'm pulling up the stitches. And this was another reason why I also picked up a slightly larger hook for this yarn. This is the type of stitch I would like to remain nice and cushy. So therefore, I like the stitches to just be a little bit looser. And so that's why, whoops, I always go up slightly a hook size anytime I'm going to do this stitch. So I'm going to do a few of these here so you can see how they contrast each other. So into there. So always through 2 first, and then you go back in and slip stitch. So again, we're creating the back of the stitch here, but you can see those loops coming through. And then when I turn it over, see, that's the little bobbly bit that's showing on that side. Now, this stitch does not create those 2 V's like the half double crochet does necessarily. So we can see the V's on the top. That is the full stitch. When we turn to the side, we've got what looks like two little legs there, similar to a single crochet. So it's a little easier to see where the actual stitch is. So right there, under those V's, pull through 2, and then slip stitch. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this row, and then I'm going to build up a few more rows to create a nice swatch so you'll get the full effect of this double crochet slip stitch. So I'll be back in just a moment. Okay guys, I'm just coming up to the end of my 8th row so you can really see how that texture is coming out. Now it's looking pretty lacy because I used a larger hook there, but it's still nice and cushy. I just love it. Now, what you might notice is because I started the first row with just single crochets, and these create like these little mini bobble stitches, it can create a bowed effect. Now, if you're working in the round, no big deal. But what I should have actually mentioned at the beginning is that you may find it useful to flank your rows at the beginning and at the end with just a regular half double crochet stitch. So we're not going to do the slip stitch. We're just going to half double crochet stitch. And I find that, so a few rows up here, I found that it started to help it stay nice and straight. So here, see the bottom, you can see it's starting to bow. But then once I started doing just half double crochets at the beginning and the end, it helps to straighten it out. Isn't that pretty? So it's the same on the front as it is on the back. And that is the double crochet slip stitch. What do you think? Super easy, right? What would you use this stitch for? Let us know in the comment box down below. I know that a lot of us find it helpful to get some crochet inspiration from all of our crochet friends. Now, if you have any questions about this tutorial, or any tutorial for that matter, you can also leave that for me in the comment box down below. And I know some of you prefer to email me directly. So you can do that at info@crochetcrafty.com. And as always, I invite you to check out the website. There's lots of fun crochet goodies there for you. Here's this stitch again in the medium 4-weight yarn. So you can see in a slightly heavier weight, it just sits a little bit more crunched and cushy. And in a lighter weight yarn, it's going to be just a little bit lacier. This would be really, really pretty, maybe for a baby blanket too, in a lighter weight yarn. Super, super cute. And by the way, if you're new here, I invite you to come hang out with me. I upload a brand new video every Wednesday morning. And in case I didn't tell you at the beginning of the video, my name is Karen, for those of you that are super, super new. And so I invite you to press that subscribe button. Make sure to click the notification bell, and that way you'll be kept up to date every time a new video tutorial goes live. So that's it for today. Cute and quick. And I hope you've been following along in our crochet series for this year, which is Home Sweet Home. I hope you've been enjoying some of those projects. I'll also make sure to leave a link to that playlist in the description box down below so you can check out some of the fun crochet projects we've been working on this year. So guys, I hope that you have a wonderful day. I wish you happy crocheting as always. Make sure you take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.